This week, a famous face will win a race and mark his place. Not to keep you waiting any longer, let's finish up those loose ties from last week. On the 31st, the General Committee from the Knoxville Convention adopts a resolution, condemns the secession, along with the planned June the 8th vote to approve the secession. It also gives the President of the Convention the power to convene it again, if need be. So maybe this won't be the last time we hear of them. For the Battle of Aquia Creek, nothing happens on the 31st. But on June the 1st, there will be, of the three vessels from last week, were added by a sloop of war, the USS Pawnee. They commence a 5-hour bombardment, which causes no casualties, but does in fact destroy a lot of Confederate infrastructure, like railroad tracks and storage houses. The Confederates return fire, but do so sparingly to conserve their ammunition. The Union suffer 9 wounded and 2 vessels slightly damaged. To go back to the 31st, P.G.T. Beauregard is given command of the Alexandria Line, an army made up of 6 brigades. Beauregard starts sending Davis attack plans for coordinated invasion of the North almost immediately. We'll see what comes of that. On June the 1st, a skirmish happens at Fairfax, Virginia. But to back up a little bit, on the 31st, a Confederate militia sets up camp around the courthouse at Fairfax. They number approximately 210 men. Out of this, 120 of them are cavalry and 90 infantry, under the command of a Lieutenant Colonel Ewell and a Captain Marr. Marr is specifically in control of the infantry. The cavalry is made up of the Prince Williams and Rappahannock cavalry. On the night of the 31st, Irvin McDowell has begun his invasion of the Confederacy. Under his command is a Brigadier General Hunter, who, in charge of the 2nd Division, orders a Lieutenant Charlie Tompkins, who is part of the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, to do reconnaissance at Fairfax. Tompkins leads about 60 cavalry men, aided by some volunteers, to Fairfax for this mission. At 3 in the morning, on June the 1st, a Confederate sentry runs into the courthouse reporting a Union advance. The other Confederate sentry is already been taken prisoner. The Confederate immediate response to this is chaos. Most of the Prince William cavalrymen run to get to their horses. Some stay to form up a battle line. But when the Union advance, the already minuscule battle line loses more men to fear. In the end, only 4 men remain just to surrender. Captain Marr's men, who are stationed at church, are now moved to a clover field outside of the town and form battle lines. They see cavalry running at them, and some of his men panic and fire. They hit, winning one of their own. The Rappahannock cavalry flee without fighting due to a lack of weapons or ammunition. More cavalry run to them, and Captain Marr advances forward in front of his men to meet with this incoming cavalry. He inquires, "What cavalry is this?" as to avoid any further friendly fire, though these were the last words he will ever say, as shots pour out from the Union cavalry and Marr falls dead on the clover field. Though, this all happened out of the sight of his men. Union cavalry then turn and go through Fairfax, taking shots at random people. One of them was Lieutenant Colonel Ewell, who is wounded when leaving his sleeping quarters. At this point, Confederate leadership is non-existent. Marr is dead without anyone knowing, and Ewell is incapacitated due to his wound. Lucky for the Confederacy, one former Governor, Smith, was in Fairfax. In fact, he had helped recruit Captain Marr's unit until he soon took control, him being Marr. Though once Ewell comes over, he relinquishes command to Ewell. Ewell then takes 40 men and set up a firing line that repulsed a second cavalry run-through. He then leaves to find a courier so he could ask for more reinforcements. This left Governor Smith in charge again, who took the men forth from the indefensible place Ewell had put them to a good position near a turnpike. For the third time, Union cavalry went through the town, but they are once again repulsed. In fact, Tompkins, who was in charge during this entire thing, had 2 horses shot out from under him. 3 times was enough for the Union, as they left the battlefield having suffered 1 dead, 4 wounded, and 3 captured. The Confederacy had lost Captain Marr, 2 wounded, and 5 captured. Though the question remains, why did Tompkins engage when he was ordered only to do reconnaissance? Well, Hunter's orders were vague, and it looked like he more wanted a probing attack on the town than peaceful reconnaissance. This leads to Tompkins being chastised by McDowell, though he is also complimented on his gallantry. On the 3rd, Stephen Douglas dies. He is most famous for his candidacy in 1860 elections. He was the only real opposition to Lincoln in the North. He died at age 48. More importantly on the 3rd is the reason for my poetry, the Philippi race, or more accurately, the Battle of Philippi. This is the first planned land battle of the Civil War. You see, in May, under the command of Major General McClellan, forces are situated in Western Virginia. McClellan has ordered Colonel Kelly of the 1st Virginia Regiment to take his regiment and half of the 2nd Virginia. He then goes on to take Farmington as ordered by McClellan. This all leads up to an actual fight at Philippi. On June the 1st, Colonel Kelly has devised plans for an attack on forces in Philippi by the Confederates, and it is approved. So Kelly takes his regiment, along with parts of the 9th Indiana and 16th Ohio, to Thornton, as to deceive his opponents into thinking his target is Harper's Ferry. This amounts to 1,600 men. Along with the 7th Indiana, they are to meet up with 6th Indiana and 14th Ohio. That is around 1,400 men, and march south. On the 2nd of June, in accordance to a double envelopment strategy movement, both of the Union forces converge on Philippi. The night between the 2nd and 3rd of June, the heavens open up and rain falls onto Philippi. This causes the dirt roads to turn to mud, but nevertheless the march continues. Kelly's march was unopposed because the Confederates decided not to put up sentries. So the Confederates were to be taken by surprise. This was thrown into jeopardy by a Confederate sympathizing family who saw the Union soldiers marching and sent their son to warn the Confederates. He is instantly captured. But his mom, very unhappy to see her son being captured, takes a pistol, fires, and misses. This starts the battle way earlier than it was supposed to. There was a bang as Union artillery opened up and the Union Blue charged at the camp. There were only a few shots by the Confederates before they fled en masse to the south. The other main Union force failed to stop the retreating Confederates, so the battle only resulted in 4 Union wounded and 26 Confederate casualties. This is the first Union victory of the war. McClellan is going to take credit for this entire thing and gets a lot of good press. He will become beloved by the nation quickly and rise to much prominence. We'll see what happens of him in the coming weeks. Also on the 1st, there's a skirmish near Arlington. If you remember from last week, the 11th New York was in Northern Virginia. Well, this time, a company from the 11th New York has partnered up with a company from the 1st Michigan. They're performing picket duty when around 11 at night they hear a volley. The two companies return fire. In a very brief fire exchange happens, leaving one of the 11th dead and one wounded, the Confederacy suffering only one wounded. On the 4th, candidates are elected to the Second Wheeling Convention. The Wheeling Convention is made up of Virginians who wish to remain in the Union. Many are from Western Virginia. And that's where the week ends, with two of the biggest battles up till now. In science, things are only going to get more extreme. See you next time.